Have you ever wondered why you no longer feel that spark you used to have? Why your body feels weaker, your confidence seems to slip away, and your energy disappears without any clear reason? You might think it's just age catching up with you. But what if I told you it could be something you stopped doing, something you believed was shameful or unnecessary? The truth is, for decades, society has convinced men to give up self-pleasure as they grow older. But this well-meaning advice could be silently draining your strength, your hormones, and your sense of self. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden consequences of quitting masturbation after 60, and why this simple habit might be the key to protecting not just your health, but your dignity as a man. If this sounds like you or someone you care about, drop a comment below and hit subscribe. Your penis is not just an ornament, nor simply a symbol of masculinity. It is a living, responsive organ, more like a muscle that needs regular use to stay healthy. Imagine if you stopped moving your legs entirely for 6 months. They wouldn't just stay the same, waiting for you to return. They would start to weaken. The muscles would shrink, the circulation would slow, and eventually, you'd lose the natural ability to walk without intense therapy. The same is true for sexual function. Many men assume that if they stop all sexual activity, whether intercourse or masturbation, the body will simply pause and pick up again later. But biology doesn't work that way. After the age of 60, the body responds to inactivity in a much more dramatic and often irreversible way. When you go long periods without any stimulation, several processes start unfolding beneath the surface. First, blood flow to the penis begins to decline. Regular arousal keeps oxygen-rich blood moving through the tissue, nourishing the cells and maintaining elasticity. Without this, the tissues can slowly become less flexible. Tiny microfibers called collagen start to accumulate in places where supple muscle should be. This is called fibrosis. Over time, fibrosis makes the tissue stiffer in a harmful way, like scar tissue forming after an injury. At the same time, the nerve endings that trigger arousal and erection begin to dull. They stop getting the regular training signals that keep them sensitive and responsive. This process is subtle and silent. You won't feel it happening, and there's no dramatic warning sign. But one morning you'll wake up and notice that your natural morning erection is gone. Weeks later, you may realize that even touching yourself doesn't create the same reaction it once did. This experience can be deeply unsettling. Many men feel confused, embarrassed, or ashamed. They think it's simply old age, something that happens to everyone. But the reality is, this decline is not inevitable. It's often a direct result of long-term sexual inactivity. The irony is that so many men stop masturbating in their later years because they believe it's more respectable or disciplined. They think avoiding self-pleasure proves they have self-control or that they've moved beyond such desires. Some do it out of guilt, shaped by years of cultural messages telling them it's dirty or immature. But after 60, this decision sends a very different message to the body. This function isn't needed anymore. The body adapts accordingly by slowly shutting it down. I've seen countless men in my clinic grappling with this. They look me in the eye and ask, "Is it too late to get it back?" The answer depends on how long they've waited. In some cases, with consistent therapy, hormone support, and regular stimulation, function can improve. But in other cases, when fibrosis has advanced too far, the damage is permanent. The good news is you don't need to resign yourself to that outcome. Maintaining healthy sexual activity even once or twice a week can keep blood circulating, preserve nerve function, and protect the tissues that enable erections. This isn't about obsession with sex. It's about acknowledging that your penis, like any other part of your body, requires care and attention to stay vital. Think of it as maintenance, no different from stretching your legs or strengthening your heart with exercise. Regular use keeps everything working. Neglect allows decline to creep in. If you're over 60 and have stepped away from all sexual activity, consider reintroducing it gently and consistently. You don't have to force anything or feel pressured to meet anyone else's expectations. This is about you, your health, your confidence, and your ability to feel connected to your own body. One simple habit, practiced regularly, can be the difference between a steady, quiet loss of function and the possibility of maintaining vitality for years to come. It is never too late to start caring for this essential part of your well-being. Testosterone is often called the quiet fire that fuels a man's strength, confidence, and vitality. Many people think testosterone simply fades with age, like hair turning gray or skin becoming thinner.
But what most men don't realize is that this decline is often accelerated, sometimes dramatically not by the passing of time alone, but by neglect. Specifically, the neglect of healthy sexual stimulation. Let's look at the biology behind this. In a healthy male body, the brain and testicles are in constant communication. The hypothalamus in your brain produces signals that travel down to the pituitary gland, which then releases luteinizing hormone, LH. LH tells your testicles to produce testosterone. This cycle happens every day, keeping your hormone levels within a normal range. But this system doesn't work in isolation. Regular sexual arousal and climax help reinforce this communication loop. Every time you become sexually engaged, whether with a partner or alone, your brain experiences a surge in dopamine and other neurotransmitters. These chemical signals help regulate your hormonal rhythm, reminding your body that intimacy is still relevant and needed. When you stop all sexual activity for weeks or months at a time, especially after 60, something subtle but powerful begins to happen.
The hypothalamus stops sending those urgent messages. The testicles gradually reduce their production of testosterone because the body assumes reproduction and intimacy are no longer priorities. This isn't just theory, it's measurable. Studies have shown that sexually inactive older men often have significantly lower testosterone than those who maintain some form of sexual engagement. Low testosterone doesn't just impact your bedroom life. It sends ripples through your entire health. You might first notice it as a vague loss of motivation. Tasks that once excited you start to feel like chores. You wake up feeling flat, as if something vital is missing. As the weeks go by, your muscles start to shrink. You might see your arms and chest getting softer, your belly becoming rounder, even if your diet hasn't changed. Bone density can also decline. Many men don't realize that testosterone is critical for keeping bones strong. Without it, you're more vulnerable to fractures and osteoporosis. Emotionally, the effects can be even more painful. Low testosterone is strongly linked to depression, anxiety, and irritability. You may feel yourself snapping at people you love, withdrawing from social life, or losing interest in hobbies that once gave you purpose. Some men describe it as feeling like a dimmer switch has been turned down on their personality. The most dangerous part is how easily all this gets misdiagnosed. You might go to your doctor and say, "I'm tired all the time. I feel weaker. I can't concentrate." Often, you'll be told it's just stress, aging, or poor sleep. While all those factors can play a role, the core issue is frequently an avoidable hormonal crash triggered by stopping sexual activity completely. That's why it's so important to reframe the way you think about self-pleasure. It isn't a childish habit or something shameful you should abandon forever. In your later years, it can be an essential health practice like exercise or proper nutrition. By maintaining consistent, respectful sexual engagement, you send a message to your body. This function still matters. Keep producing testosterone. If you've already noticed signs of decline like low mood, muscle loss, or lack of interest in life, it's not too late to make changes. A simple habit of self-stimulation once or twice a week can help rekindle your hormonal rhythm. Over time, many men see improvements not just in sexual function, but in energy, mood, and overall confidence. Remember, your hormones don't vanish simply because you reached a certain birthday. They respond to the signals you give them. When you stop giving those signals, your body interprets it as a command to power down. But when you stay engaged, you can maintain that quiet fire of testosterone that keeps you strong, vital, and connected to who you really are. You deserve to feel fully alive at every age, and it starts with honoring your body, without shame, and giving it the stimulation it still needs to thrive. Your prostate is often an overlooked part of your health. Most men don't think about it at all until something goes wrong. But your prostate isn't just a bystander sitting quietly in your pelvis. It is an active gland responsible for producing and storing seminal fluid, which is a critical component of your reproductive and urinary systems. Think of your prostate like a reservoir. Under normal circumstances, this reservoir regularly empties itself during ejaculation. Fresh fluid is produced, stored, and then released again. This cycle keeps the gland healthy, the pressure balanced, and the tissues functioning normally. But when you stop all sexual activity, especially after age 60, that reservoir doesn't magically stop filling. The prostate continues to produce fluid even when you're no longer releasing it. Over weeks and months, that fluid sits, becoming thicker and more concentrated. Over time, the stagnation leads to increased internal pressure. This is where inflammation begins. As the stored fluid thickens, it can irritate the delicate lining of the prostate gland. The result is swelling, tenderness, and a sense of heaviness in your pelvic region. Many men describe it as a dull, persistent ache deep inside the groin. Others feel a nagging pressure in the perineum, the area between the scrotum and the anus, that doesn't go away, even when they change positions. One of the earliest and most frustrating symptoms is urinary problems. The prostate sits directly below your bladder and surrounds the upper part of the urethra, the tube that carries urine out of your body. When the gland becomes swollen or congested, it gently squeezes the urethra, disrupting the smooth flow of urine. You might notice your stream getting weaker, taking longer to empty, or feeling like you can't quite finish. Nighttime can become especially challenging. Many men find themselves waking up several times a night with an urgent need to urinate, only to produce a small trickle. Over time, this constant disruption of sleep takes a toll on your energy and mood. Sadly, most men never realize these problems are connected to sexual inactivity. Instead, they assume it's just getting older, or they blame their bladder. But in my years as a urologist, I've seen countless cases where the root issue was an inflamed, congested prostate caused by a long period without ejaculation. Left unaddressed, this chronic congestion can progress to a more serious condition called chronic prostatitis. Prostatitis is a persistent inflammation of the prostate that can last for months or even years. It causes pain during urination, discomfort after ejaculation, and a constant awareness that something isn't right in your body. Beyond the daily discomfort, there's an even more serious concern: increased risk of prostate cancer. Research, including a well-known Harvard study, has found that regular ejaculation may help reduce the accumulation of potentially harmful substances inside the prostate. Essentially, when you flush the gland regularly, you lower the chances of cellular damage and chronic inflammation, which are risk factors for cancer. One patient I'll never forget was a retired teacher who had gone nearly 2 years without any sexual activity. When he finally came to my clinic, complaining of urinary urgency and pelvic pain, his PSA-Levelsa marker of prostate health were significantly elevated. We conducted further tests and found severe congestion and inflammation. He was shocked to learn that something as simple as not ejaculating had created such a serious problem. Fortunately, the solution isn't complicated. Maintaining regular ejaculation, whether through intercourse or masturbations, is a natural way to clear out the prostate, relieve pressure, and keep inflammation in check. It doesn't require expensive medications or invasive procedures. It just requires a commitment to care for this often neglected part of your body. If you've stopped sexual activity out of shame, or because you believed it was unimportant at your age, I encourage you to reconsider. This isn't about chasing pleasure for its own sake. It's about safeguarding your health, preserving your comfort, and protecting your independence. Your prostate deserves the same respect and attention you give the rest of your body. With regular care, you can prevent unnecessary suffering and keep this vital gland working the way nature intended. Sometimes, the greatest loss that comes with stopping sexual activity isn't in your body, it's in your spirit. While most men expect some changes in their physical health as they age, very few are prepared for the profound emotional impact that can come from withdrawing completely from intimacy, even with themselves. You see, regular sexual activity, whether with a partner or through masturbation, is not just about desire or release. Biologically, it's an essential way your brain produces and balances neurotransmitters that regulate mood, motivation, and emotional resilience. Every time you become aroused and reach climax, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Dopamine is often called the motivation molecule. It gives you that spark of purpose, the sense that you're engaged with life and excited for what's ahead. Oxytocin, known as the bonding hormone, creates feelings of warmth, trust, and connection, even if you're alone. And endorphins are your body's natural painkillers and mood elevators, helping you feel calm and satisfied. When you stop sexual activity altogether, this chemical balance begins to shift. It doesn't happen overnight. At first, you may not notice much at all, just a subtle flatness in your mood, or a sense that something is missing. Over weeks and months, however, this deficit deepens. Your brain has fewer opportunities to produce these critical neurotransmitters. The result is a slow erosion of emotional well-being. Many men describe it as a feeling of emptiness they can't quite explain. They lose interest in hobbies, feel disconnected from people they care about, or struggle to find joy in daily life. The energy that once propelled them forward seems to dissipate. Simple decisions feel overwhelming. Even small setbacks trigger irritation or sadness. In my experience as a doctor, I've seen how devastating this emotional decline can be. One man, a former construction supervisor, shared that after a year of avoiding all sexual activity, he felt like he was watching life happen through a dirty window. He said nothing seemed vivid anymore. His emotions were muted, his ambitions dulled. It wasn't until he resumed regular sexual engagement that he realized how powerfully it had impacted his sense of self. And here's the part that makes this decline so dangerous. Almost no one talks about it. Our culture rarely teaches older men that sexuality is not just a young man's game. It's a lifelong component of health that remains important well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. But because these conversations are so taboo, most men suffer in silence, believing that losing this part of themselves is normal or inevitable. The shame surrounding the topic creates even more isolation. You might avoid bringing it up with your doctor, your partner, or even acknowledging it to yourself. But the longer you pretend it doesn't matter, the deeper the emptiness grows. It's not just about missing physical pleasure, it's about losing the rituals that affirm your humanity, your vitality, and your worth. So what can you do? First, you must recognize that this isn't about indulgence or weakness. Maintaining sexual connection with yourself is as legitimate and important as any other form of self-care. It's no different than taking a walk to clear your mind or eating nutritious food to protect your body. When you allow yourself regular sexual activity, you nurture the parts of your brain that sustain emotional stability and confidence. If you've stepped away from all forms of intimacy for months or years, consider gently reintroducing this practice into your life. You don't need to feel pressure to perform or meet anyone's expectations. The goal is to reconnect with your own body, to feel present again, and to give your brain the signals it needs to maintain a healthy emotional landscape. Remember, you deserve to feel alive. You deserve to feel connected to yourself. Even as you age, your need for intimacy, touch, and emotional nourishment does not disappear. When you honor that need, you protect not only your mental health but your sense of purpose and joy in living. You've now heard how stopping sexual activity in later life can quietly erode your physical health, your hormones, your prostate, and your emotional well-being. These changes aren't simply the result of aging. They are the consequences of neglecting a vital part of yourself that still needs attention and care. This isn't about indulgence or obsession. It's about preserving the foundation of your vitality, dignity, and self-respect. Your body doesn't stop needing connection and release just because you turn 60 or 70. In fact, these needs often become more important to protect against decline. If any part of this message resonated with you, know this: it is never too late to begin again. You can reclaim your health, your confidence, and your sense of aliveness with simple, consistent actions. Start by letting go of the shame. Recognize that self-pleasure is a natural, healthy practice that supports your whole well-being. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe and share this video with someone you care about. You deserve to feel strong, connected, and alive at every age. This is your life, and you have the power to protect it.